No, it's okay.
I don't want to lose any money.
Okay. All right, so refresh me. What was this? This is from Bruce.
That's from the planning board.
Okay,
On their recommendation.
from the, okay,
Regarding, petition.
okay.
And then that was supposed to.
Okay, so shall I read this since none of us have a copy of it? Clifton Land Use Ordinance requires all proposed amendments be referred to the planning board for the recommendation. A group of citizens submitted a petition with the following proposed amendment to the select board. Section 3B, setback from property lines of non-participating parcels. Each wind turbine shall be set back at least 4,000 feet from the nearest property line on any non-participating parcel. Wind energy facility owners may negotiate with property owners to waive this setback with a written mitigation waiver agreement. The revised provision shall be effective retroactively to any and all wind energy applications filed with the town on or after August 1, is that correct? 2013, okay. In addition, this revision shall be effective from the date of enactment by the town, irrespective of any other land use ordinance revisions to SPS 8.0, Section H 3.6, that are enacted on the same date if such revisions specify a less restrictive setback than that herein. Many reasons for this amendment have been presented by its supporters both at the special select board meeting where the petition was accepted and over the many months while the planning board has been rewriting the land use ordinance. We will present our analysis here of why the planning board recommends this amendment should not pass. Number one, this amendment is written specifically to prohibit the construction of any wind turbines in the town of Clifton. Several people have expressed the opinion to the planning board that they want the board to write an ordinance to specifically prohibit wind turbines in Clifton. Courts have generally ruled as unconstitutional outright prohibitions against specific businesses or land uses. The planning board acknowledges that it has become the practice in many communities to write ordinances and regulations that are in effect outright bans. These ordinances often have no scientific or rational basis to justify them and are pure political pandering to particular minority groups. The Clifton Planning Board has tried to look at this issue with a broader moral and legal perspective. While the courts at this time see a difference between an outright ban and one created by impossible to meet regulations, the Clifton Planning Board sees these things as morally and intellectually the same. We do not believe that the ends justify the means. And if we were to write ordinance requirements with the intent to effectively ban wind turbines, what do we do when the next minority group of citizens does not like a type of business activity in Clifton? Do we ban forestry and the harvesting of trees anywhere it impacts the scenic view from one of our scenic resources? By the way, this view has already been expressed by some people. Do we ban the construction of homes in any of these scenic views? What about extractive industries and the noise and dust associated with them? Do we ban farms or the keeping of livestock because neighbors are annoyed or just do not like them? The Clifton Planning Board does not believe the majority of Clifton citizens want the planning board to start down this morally and legally questionable path. The amendment is written to protect residents' entire property from perceived adverse impacts. Number two, the proponents have submitted information to the planning board regarding setbacks and other ordinances. Specifically, Ontario Wind Resistance addresses setbacks. The document lists 51 separate examples of setback distances. Setbacks consistent with protecting adjacent properties from physical dangers such as ice throw, turbine failure are in most ordinances. A review of setbacks referenced indicate the following towns with large setbacks to property lines. Claybax Township in Michigan, 3,000 feet. Rumford, Maine, 4,000 feet. Montville, Maine, 1 mile or 13 times turbine height. Moscow, Maine, 1.5 miles. And Caratonk, Maine, 1.5 miles. In reviewing the above ordinances, it is obvious that all have been written with the intent to prohibit wind energy facilities. The setbacks are not the only provision in these ordinances that effectively prohibit wind turbines. Almost all ordinances regulate setbacks to some definition of residences or protected locations. Scotland is often mentioned by opponents of having a 2-kilometer setback. This is correct as this is only a recommendation and only applies to cities, towns, and villages, commonly 3,000 or more homes. Some big long name in Scotland is often mentioned because of its 10-kilometer recommended setback. What isn't commonly known is that the area is the site of a seismic nuclear test detection facility, and an international agreement prohibits anything that would compromise the sensitivity of the facility, which is designed to detect nuclear tests halfway around the world. And then attached is international review of policies, recommendations for wind turbine setbacks from residences, setbacks, noise, shadow flicker, and other concerns. Minnesota Department of Commerce Energy Facility permitting setback requirements for wind turbines in California. When you look at the mandatory setback distances around the world, especially in those countries with the largest number of wind turbines and the longest history with them as documented in the above international review, you find that large mandatory setbacks for property lines are rare, to say the least. Based on international standards set by countries with far more experience than us, the proposed setback is arbitrary, capricious, and unwarranted. Also attached is a legal opinion to the Michigan Public Service Commission. The opinion includes a large number of supporting background documents dealing with setbacks, health issues, and property values. Quotes from this document include, setback distances and sound standards should be based on science and reason, not speculation and conjecture. Responsible wind developers support reasonable setbacks and sound standards. An important point is that a distance requirement is actually irrelevant when it comes to sound levels. Appropriate decibel requirements will vary based on a combination of factors including the turbine model, local topography, and the position of neighboring wind turbines. In regard to comments by supporters of the amendment with regard to protecting property values, the Clifton Planning Board references you to the attached studies regarding property values in wind energy facilities. The overwhelming evidence that there is no statistically supported reduction in property values around wind farms. Ernest Orlando Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, a spatial hedonic analysis of the effects of wind energy facilities on surrounding properties in the United States. Goes on to describe this as important as the conclusions on page 37 are the tables and methodology throughout the report, taking into account all the many factors influencing property values. Wind farm proximity and property values, a pooled hedonic regression analysis of property values in central Illinois. This one is even more informative in that it analyzes property values with respect to distance, view, etc., and over time. Another issue advanced by supporters of the amendment is that the setbacks are necessary to protect them from the effects of low-frequency sound and infrasound. This is an entire subject in itself. The Clifton Planning Board website has links to a large number of studies showing this concern is unsubstantiated by real scientific evidence. EFP-06 project, low-frequency noise from large wind turbines. This study was done for the Danish Energy Authority, and while the whole report should be looked at, I refer you to page 65 where a chart compares the low-frequency sound with a number of common sources most people are exposed to regularly, if not daily. Note how low the large 3.6 MW megawatt. God, I'm getting good. Twice the output of these proposed for Clifton are in comparison. Also read wind turbines and infrasound. Infrasound and low-frequency noise from wind turbines, exposure and health effects. Infrasound, brief review of toxicological literature. The above studies are all peer-reviewed and document that wind turbines do not produce low-frequency sound or infrasound at levels injurious to human health. The Clifton Planning Board recommends the ordinance provision expanding the wind turbine setback to 4,000 feet from property line for non-participating parcels ought not to pass. This was voted on by the Planning Board 5-0, and the meeting adjourned at 6:46 p.m. I have a motion to accept this into. Phew!
We accept the planning board report.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All those in favor? And opposed? Okay.
Are we gonna get a copy of that?
Yes, that will be available as well. Okay, moving on. Board of Appeals, we don't have anything. Executive session, CEO report. Don't tell me you got nothing.
Who does it?
All right. Okay, so my question was about Mr. Kennedy and his yard, or who is that? No, that's not him. First of all, the first one, the one that we,
Yes,
yes.
that's,
Is he progressing? Because I do a daily site visit when I drive by.
well,
has-
the truck is there and they're throwing stuff in it.
So he has until the end of June?
Yes,
Okay, all right. And I do know that he is making his payments.
Mr. Kennedy has the exact same time. I spoke with Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
And also mentioned that he probably shouldn't go down there and work for Elton and bring the stuff up to his house.
Yes. Oh, yes, he's trucking it up daily, he's gotta pick up the sides on it. take
Well,
it.
if you look, he has started cleaning up.
He has, yes, he has, I agree.
The only other thing on there that I want to bring up is I have instructed Dave Sedchuk to start court proceedings on Rita Getchell.
And what's the status of that?
Rita Getchell has decided she doesn't want to pay,
To have it
rededicated.
Oh, wow, okay.
She has made comments to the new homeowner and to Sprague Nursery. So we have reached out to her attorney, and he doesn't want to bother answering us anymore. So I told Dave to put his teeth in and go after her.
Okay, all right.
What has she done?
She cut down large, very large, 100-year-old pines in shoreline zoning.
Okay.
And has signed a contract with us to take care of this, and now she's reneging on the contract.
Okay. She has paid the fines,
Yep.
but she did not.
And we still have the same plan and all of that stuff, she's
Yep.
just refusing to do it. Do we know what the cost of that replanting and stuff is?
The new homeowner said that they talked to Sprague would be about 12 grand.
Yeah,
It's gonna cost her a lot more now.
wow, okay. All right, keep us aware of what's going on.
I will.
Thank you.
I'll make a
Well.
motion, we accept Rick's report.
Second? Thank you. Nancy seconded. All in favor? Okay, I'm gonna take my pen. Doesn't matter. Okay, next on the list, ACO report.
We don't have one.
We don't have one.
Could have used her the other night when we had to retrieve a cow out of the middle of 180.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Us farm girls got it all taken care of, as a matter of fact. Don't know if it's still there or not, but it got marched down 180 quite promptly.
Wish I had it here.
I wished you did too. It would have been quite hysterical. Okay, Eddington Fire Department report. That is informational only for your
And they were out for the fires on the poles.
reading pleasure.
Alex was that day. So if we can make sure we thank them. Send a thank you. Yeah, well, they have special requests.
Okay.
Well, Sean is husband Todd is actually helping Craig, so they're just
Okay. We have another special guest from the SAD School Board report. Rusty Gagnon is here. Pleasure to have you, my dear.
Thank you.
I love your blog. I love
Oh,
being
it's nice to know
updated.
people are reading. A lot
Like
of
it
people
is.
don't
Absolutely it is.
sign their names, but it's nice to know that people are reading. And I'll come anytime you ask me to come because you've got a problem, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, all right.
I'm here with good news and important news, and not so good news that's also important news. So I'll start at the top and try to keep it at 5. The Budget and Finance Committee has produced a budget. If you read the blog, you know something about it. I'm on the Budget and Finance Committee, so I'm very well aware of how much we've been working. The total amount of budget that is to be voted on for the coming year is, for those of you who want to write this down, $9,526,594 total, which represents a 1.5% increase in the overall budget, but only a 0.62 increase in local tax assessment. It's probably one of the lowest in a long time. And you folks have really made a good deal because your assessment is going to be reduced by $5,024.
Yeah, dodge.
Okay?
Wait.
Now, we will accept flowers and fruit baskets.
You got it.
Okay, and this is possible because all the contracted staff, the teachers and the administrators, have accepted a 1-year pay freeze, okay? And the administrators had already gotten their contracts, and some of them had in fact gotten an increase. The teacher's contract was in the process of, and because the current one expires this year, but they agreed that they would also take a one-year pay freeze. The reason for that is because there is going to be a change in the way the elementary grades are going to be, where they're going to be taught. And that will not happen. Because of this budget, we have bought, in essence, a one-year planning period to plan for the implementation, to do the organization, to have parent involvement, community involvement for that plan. Otherwise, it would have gone into effect this coming fall, which is a little bit fast for people to sort of adjust to. What the change will be, and it's only applying to pre-K through the 4th grade. Pre-K through 1st grade will be at Eddington School. All pre-K and 1st graders in the district will be at Eddington School. And the pre-K children will be coming in from the trailer and actually be in the school. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders for the entire district will be at the Holden Elementary School. One of the benefits of this is any child coming in will know everyone in his or her class at that age group. So if you start in pre-K or kindergarten or 1st grade, you're going to know everybody in your class, and they're going to be the same people that you're going to go to school with all the way up through the 8th grade when you get to Holden, instead of having 2 elementary communities come together in 2 sort of groups, more or less. This new change goes into effect in the fall of 2015. In the meantime, we're putting together advisory committees to do planning, to do a lot of communication, to do a lot of explaining, because as with most things, rumors and non-factual information spreads like wildfire, whereas real information, in fact, is about the pace of the curve. And so, because it's not nearly as fun to listen to facts as it is to listen to rumors. We won't talk about the destructiveness of that. So that is the good news, okay, what the budget is. Now, the important part of that is tomorrow night, even though it's not on your sign out there, Eddington did take care of it. Tomorrow night is the district's public meeting at the Holbrook School in the gym, 7 p.m. Now that is where you get explained all the different parts of the budget, what it is, how much money goes to it, and so forth and so on. And the public gets to vote. It's one of 2 votes. The second vote is the referendum vote in June the 10th. The budget must pass both of those votes in order to go into effect. If it doesn't, you send us back to try to come up with another budget. And another budget will never have any less than this has, I will tell you that, okay? Because we've dug up pennies under rocks in order to get to where we are. And it's very tight. It's very tight. You should also know that 90.9%, I'm going to call it 91% of the budget is totally outside the control of any of us. It's all fees and dollars that are sent to us. It's the high schools setting their tuition. And when we say, okay, we expect to have X number of students, that call it $8,500 per year per student, and we budget that, and then halfway through the year we have 3 families move in with 3 teenagers going to high school, it blows the budget out to, I won't say it because you've got the thing going, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So it's very difficult. And how cold it was this past winter, it blew the heating budget. So we're watching every single penny. It's one of the reasons why I am a warrant officer, because I not only verify the checks going out, but how much and what for, and I do ask questions. Amira Maine or Amira Bangor Hydro is an interesting entity. So the important thing is people need to show up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Holbrook Gym. Listen, become informed, ask your questions if you need to, but please vote. I want to say, if you're going to vote yes, vote, and if you're going to vote no, you can go home early, because we just need this budget to pass, okay? Well, I'm being honest. And if you want to know, what's going on, if you have Facebook and you go onto Facebook, there are 2 groups. One is called Eddington. I don't know what the rest half of it is, but it's a group, and it's primarily parents that are in Eddington. And the other one is called SAD 63 Community Collaborative. There are about 184 in one group, and I think almost as much in the other group. And I do post as often as possible if there's coming a meeting, what time, where, and what it's about. If there's been a meeting, what came out of it. One of the wonderful things that came out of this past Monday's board meeting is that one of our 7th graders from Eddington, by the way, Rebecca Gideon, was in the class, the 7th grade class taught by Mrs. Wendy Briggs, a very good, wonderful person. And that whole class entered into the Bangor Elks Americanism essay contest. And the title was, What Veterans Day Means to Me. Rebecca took first place in the state, and second in the country, the entire country. And so she read it Monday night at the board meeting. We're in hopes that there will be a presentation at a school presentation, and we should be very, very proud of her. You should know that Mrs. Briggs' class last year entered into the Rachel Carson Silent Spring essay contest, and she had over 4 of her students win awards.
Oh, wow.
That woman is an excellent 7th grade teacher. I'm just saying that as a personal opinion. Now, the other thing that's good, not so good, but is important is your school board member is a no-show. Scott Chiaccio was a write-in candidate. I've talked with him, I've given him information. He came to the first 2 board meetings. He's been to one of the earlier on in April budget and finance meetings, and he hasn't been seen or heard from since. I've sent him personal emails, told him how important what meetings were, where were, and no responses. I've tried to call his cell phone. I get a not in service message, and I've left messages on his home, voicemail, but I haven't gotten any response. So Clifton really doesn't have any representation on the board at the moment. Dave McCluskey from Eddington is the chair. I'm from Eddington, and we have a new person who'll be hopefully coming on because we don't know yet either. But Jeff Thurlow from Eddington has been on the board. And we try to watch out for Clifton issues as much as we can, but if we don't have 5 people showing up, we don't have a quorum, we cannot conduct business. And Monday night we had exactly 5 because one of our people had to be out of state on family health business, and Jeff was a no-show. So that is important on the one hand, and what is even more important is if you know the structure of the school district, we are in what's called an AOS, an alternative organized structure, instead of necessarily an RSU. And it's like an umbrella group. And it is the umbrella group, in theory, with the board that supervises, takes care of, maybe. RSU 63, that's us. And airline, which is CSD 8, okay? And the composition of that board is there are 4 representatives from airline because there are so many towns in airline. But their votes really don't have very much weight because your vote is weighted by your population. From 63, we have 3 reps. And there's supposed to be 1 from each town. Except you have a no-show. And that's very disconcerting. AOS board doesn't meet very often, but when they do, it's pretty important. We do have an alternate. And that's Jen Newcomb out of Holden, and she's excellent, okay? And from Holden is also Joy Knowles, okay? And then I'm the Eddington rep, so I gotta tell you, the three hens work really well together, okay? And so we will do the best that we can, but I don't know what you wanna do. It really is up to you. I'm told that if a board member has 3 unexcused absences, the selectmen have the authority to make a change. None of his absences have been excused. I'll answer any questions that you have, but that's really the good news. Please show up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Holbrook, and please vote yes. And then go to the referendum on the 10th of June, and please vote yes. Because otherwise I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to knock on your door to come and work.
Rusty, the process of finding somebody new at this point in time, right before budget, we still need to find somebody,
Yeah.
but how do we sell it? It's really tough to sell somebody to be on the school board.
I
Huh?
had a question. At our town meeting, wasn't there another gentleman that came to us and said he would be interested in being on the school board?
John Williams Willing.
Yes.
Well, he would be an excellent candidate. He came last year to the public meeting. He asked some very good questions. Those questions they're being addressed right now. They're being That's the way we operate now. I thought he would be excellent. I didn't know why he didn't take out papers, but his background would be great, and I think that he would speak up for you. And because in all honesty, if you have to go beat the bushes, beat something that's got a beating heart and will really work. Don't send a butt to sit in the chair, because then they don't really carry their weight. It's not the work that's done at the board level, it's the work that's done at the committee level. And it's really important to have people that are willing to work.
I'll get in touch with these two.
Did you remember who the other one was?
Yes, Jessica Hall.
Oh, okay, okay. All
As
right.
far as how to sell it, I mean, it's, when you look at how much of your town taxes go to
Oh,
support,
yeah.
okay?
Absolutely.
And so those of us who are on the board,
Yeah,
we are very much involved with, it has to be the best education that we can afford.
yeah.
It has to be cost accountable, okay? And there are some changes that are coming. And then it has to be accountable back to your taxpayers, and I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I cannot tax taxpayers off their property when they're trying to just survive on Social Security.
Mhm.
One of the things that we are looking at, but it's going to take, we have to get 6 months down the road for a while here. We're looking at the possibility of going to a one-building district, which would be a pre-K through 8 with separate wings. So you'd have the elementary in one wing and the middle school in another wing. I don't know whether we'd use any of the existing buildings or we'd turn them back or sell them or whatever. But in that way, we would only need one elementary principal. Right now, we have 2. So we could cut some costs there. We'd only be dealing with one heating system, and it would all be current instead of 3 that are in varying degrees of antiquity. And we would have one kind of a heating system, one kind of a technology system. It would be, and we'd save on transportation costs. But there's a lot of work. That's probably a 6, 7, 8 year project to get to that point. In the meantime, we have to do better. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you ever so much.
Thank
I
you
really
very much.
appreciate it.
I want to see you tomorrow night.
I'll be there tomorrow night. I will be
They
there.
say all in favor. I want to see your arm up in the air.
Yeah, Jan.
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Oh,
When the budget started, we was going to lose some teachers. We was gonna lose, what, 4 teachers. So they agreed to bring them all back, give them their hours back, the music and whatnot, and freeze their raises for 1 year. But they will be receiving 2 raises next year. We have 2 part-time positions, a custodian maintenance and a cook. I'm just wondering why the school board didn't look into saving those 2 positions. I can't imagine that 2 part-time employees would balance the budget. That wasn't even looked at.
Actually, it was looked at, okay, it was looked at. But the head of your department had said that that one particular custodial maintenance position, which was just recently hired at Eddington School, actually could be, the school could function without that position. And it's a half of a cook, although Susan Shane from Eddington said, how do you have a half a cook? Just one leg and one arm. I'm not quite sure how those positions are spread out. Those positions are sort of in a slightly different budget, because food services is under a different kind of a budget. But it was, what we ended up doing, in all honesty, the one thing that we did speak out for is that none of the hourly staff were going to have any cuts at all, which included the group that you work with, it included the secretaries, all of whom did get an increase this year. And they were not asked for a pay raise. A lot of it was because to make them whole because of last year, but it was only the teachers and the administrative staff that were asked to cut and or to pay freeze. As far as the cuts were concerned, in fact, there were 2 full-time positions in art, 2 full-time positions in I don't know whether it was French or it was music, and they were going to be cut down to 1.8, and they're back to being 2.0. So I mean, we saved the 1.5 position that we had to let go was, we couldn't protect everybody, but we protected those that we said that we would.
All right.
I know.
Thanks, Rusty.
Well, you're one of them.
I appreciate you being here. This has been a terrific update in a short amount of time, and trust me, I've had the same issues with contacting Scott and trying to get information back. We've had nothing, barring sending a certified letter, which I'm not sure would even get there as well. So we will work diligently to see if we can find somebody. Somebody want to make a motion that Deb contact those two people? What do you got a finger pointing for?
Because somebody's got their hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a
I just have a
question.
question, yeah. The reconfiguration for the elementary schools, I thought it was still in the planning stages. You sound like it's a done deal.
No, it was decided it would be a done deal. What we
On
bought was
Monday?
1 year. I think maybe even 2 board meetings ago, okay? But what was decided was in the budget and finance, if we could get the budget through, that is now the budget that's out to vote, we could buy a year, in essence, for the planning and the communication and the organization and instead of just having it happen this coming fall, which would have been a bit of a shock, okay, for a lot of people. We were told, we on the board were told, although we'd not seen, that members of the administration team had written plans depending upon which of the 3 scenarios and so forth and so on. We never saw anything. The budget and finance people never even heard about 3 scenarios until the end of April. So a lot of this did not set well, and that's one of the reasons why we said, no, this is not organized, this is not comforting. We want a year, and we want administration and staff and parents and the board to be involved in this organization, this planning, this communication. But it's a cost-efficient move at the same time. We have some classes with 11 children, and it's just not cost-efficient to have a teacher for 11 students.
What's a normal class size now, Rusty? Where'd you look at?
It could be like 17,
Yeah.
depends on the grade.
Yeah.
You know, kindergarten and first grade, you don't really want to have
Right.
a whole lot because, but some of the, I mean, we've got people, and we've got grades that only have 11 students, and it's just not
Right,
reasonable.
okay.
You also didn't speak of this ad hoc committee. The select board member from each town.
We are, well, it's in discussion. We had a second discussion this past Monday night. I had drafted up just to start a working start organization thing. But there will be underneath I have to use my hand, sorry. But there, underneath the board, the school board, there will be an ad hoc committee with a chair and hopefully the chairs of each of the special advisory committees. So think of it as an umbrella with spokes. And then each advisory committee would have specified tasks. One might be administration, and I just threw out some things for a starting point of discussion for it to come up. One might be curriculum and staffing. One will definitely be transportation, and there might be another one. One of the things that we're talking about as far as transportation, we've had parents say, I might have children in all 3 schools, and I actually drop off and pick up my kids. And so we're thinking, could we have a transportation hub where maybe at least 2 of the schools, like the 2 elementary schools, or maybe all 3 of the schools, can go to the hub, wherever the hub is, and then the parent can pick up their children all in one spot. We just don't know yet. We're in the process of to address as many of the concerns. One thing that is being done by the end of this week, there will be some form of a letter written by both the superintendent and Chairman McCluskey to explain the what is going to happen and the why it's going to happen, to try to quell some of the rumors and just give some factual information. I don't know if this is going out as a paper form or whether it's, I'm sure it'll be on the website anyway, but I know that a lot of the parents get a lot of stuff through email, so I'm not on that committee. That's one of the few that I'm not on, so I can't give you more specifications than that. Okay. But the whole objective is so everybody will really understand the what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, the why it's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
Well, it just seems like history is repeating itself. Just a few years ago, we had a similar ad hoc about the similar issues.
Well, the thing is, that one of the complaints that had come up this year in the process of, I know I'm over my 5 up 9.
Oh, you're way over that,
I
honey.
know,
We've all,
but-
you know, but okay.
But one of the questions that have come up is, you know, every spring, every budget spring, we go through this same horrendous cycle. And I know, I've watched it for at least 6 years. And that we're told that something's gonna happen, but nothing ever happens. And what we have said, and we said it this Monday night again, is we know what you've been told before, we're telling you now, this is it. It is going to happen. It is going to happen in the fall of 2015.
And do we know the monetary amount of this, what this would
Yeah.
save?
I don't have a number in the top of my head, I can't tell you. I do know that in that year, you know, a year from now, not this coming year, but that year, we will be able to reduce by 4 teaching positions, which will save some money. We are making some changes in some other areas, but I'm not at liberty to discuss them right now. Because some things haven't been finalized. And, you know,
Rusty, could some of
exactly.
these questions be answered tomorrow? Just for time's sake, I think we need to move on, but we'll,
I
opportunity
can't,
for some of these
I can't
things.
tell you because I'm not one who's making the presentation.
Oh, okay.
That's mostly gonna be Kelly
Okay.
asking, and she might be able to answer some of those other.
Okay, okay, all right, okay, good. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate your effort, and we'll get back to you.
Thanks, Russ.
Did we have a vote? Did we vote?
On what?
Huh? We did? Okay. A motion to have you,
Oh, on that. Yeah, no, we didn't vote. I'll make a motion that you contact the two people to see if they would be interested in being on our school, our school board member.
have a second? Ed, all those in favor?
Should we also put in the newsletter?
Yes,
Right
yes,
there.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, next is building use.
All the time.
Do we need to do anything about the library, that library letter?
Building
No, we're
use?
not. No, okay. We'll bring that up later. Roads, Mr. Ed, you have anything to tell us about roads?
They should be graded.
Okay,
I talked to the guy the other day, he said, yes, I would get on Thursday, but
Okay.
we gotta also feel we had a week of rain, that's slowing down some.
okay,
We're also working on getting the stagecoach road, where it has, the road is falling into the brook. We got that okay to, the field board also, government, they're
Yeah,
gonna,
okay.
Rick style, all
all
that.
right.
So that's all right, no, I'm gonna go up and start. There's 2 roads that are, didn't take tire right now. And I'll be looking at them to see which one we might tire. We have the money, we got what, 21,000 and change, but we can do that.
Okay,
We can spend up to 21,000. So I'll look at that. Otherwise than that, you know, I'm running the roads a lot more than I ever have before, just because, you know, people are complaining about potholes and stuff like that, so I go see them, there's potholes, no
Okay.
doubt about it. I mean, we just have to wait until, the weather breaks, so they can do what they have to do,
okay,
you know,
all right.
that's all I have to say.
Anything else from
Well,
rest of the
this came
cycle?
in from, obviously Jake Morgan from the school has no citizen concern, he keeps copying it. Anyways, almost to the same date as last year, he sent his complaint about Bobcat Road meeting where his resolution was to pave it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we'll get right, we'll jump right on that, yeah,
But
okay.
grades and ratings and,
So what is it?
How about-
yeah.
How about
If
sweeping?
anything is supposed to happen this week, again, the rain is holding them back.
Yeah.
Mow crew has been around, they've swept off the lawn, so they're getting ready to mow, so.
Okay, all right. Okay.
And that's done some signs.
Yeah, I also
I got
put
it.
the sign back up in Philly Mill Road, so that makes it golden with all the signs again, so somebody else knocks them over.
Okay, Madam Treasurer.
We have, again, in front of us, believe it or not, nothing about salt for next year. Everybody just got out of it, but, we always, well, not always, usually in Penobscot County, unorganized territory, they put a bid process out for bids for salt. And we normally sign up for it in case we want to accept their price. So I have that application here. The bids aren't due until May 30th, so I'm not gonna know of any pricing until
Mhm.
probably next month.
Okay,
But they want this in as well, so we can get on the list, if you guys. So you want to sign that, if not, if you don't want to, that's fine, we can.
have
But
we
it
done
gives
it in
us
the past?
another,
Yes. It
Yeah.
gives us an opportunity,
to.
if their bid is less than anybody else's.
Yeah.
Right, and it's usually, normally, last year the bid price was 62 per ton for the southern division, 63 per ton for the northern division, so.
It's usually a cheaper price than what you can get from
From
local.
somewhere else.
Co-op thing or
This
something.
doesn't have to be signed by all of us.
No,
Just
just,
the 10.
Carol.
This isn't locking us in.
No,
No.
just putting us on
Just
the
getting us on the list.
list. You know, we do that in the fall, this comes early, and fall bids will be out this year. I think we missed this last year, something in the building that let us be part of it. About, we have the fee schedule here, but I'm not sure where that comes along.
I think it was
I think
under
that's
clerk's
gonna be-
report,
Right,
yeah, the fee schedule.
Last month, we talked about, getting prices for the new equipment because of the Windows XP and support was coming.
Yeah.
Came tomorrow, so. I went ahead and, got some pricing, I talked to Sean of Slash Systems, who used to do all of our, tech work, and he recommended just replacing the tower. We do have 2 computers that would do that replacement. But I also talked to Sean, that one computer that where Rick sits
Yeah.
and Mark, we don't use that computer only to turn on the whole system. And allows us to work with our Trio program to receive, cash receiving. I talked to Sean about getting rid of that computer altogether, and then what he would do is come in and install that, program into the main computer in the front of the tower, so we would eliminate one whole computer.
And installing that program would be your turn on to Trio.
Yes,
As
yes,
well.
they like that, they
Yeah.
call them mother
Okay.
server. So I priced some towers, believe it or not, in Walmart, they have refurbished, and Staples deals with a lot of refurbished. And for $249, I can replace that tower, which is the same tower as we have now, and it has 4 gigs of memory, which would be sufficient for what we need. The other one's 2 gigs for 100 something.
And this would negate the recommendation, we get a whole new
Yeah.
computer
Yeah.
and all that. Well, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than $2,000.
So, but the other part would be having on with your approval,
Yeah.
or the approval to come in and get rid of that main computer, and maybe talk to them about getting rid of the information that's inside the computer. I think Bruce called it a shredder, whatever Bruce is,
Just about, yeah, you can get shredders for computers or else
Yeah.
magnetizers.
and have them, because we have some other computers that are involved that are no good.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I think you could shred everything that's inside,
Yeah.
then we would dispose of the equipment
Okay.
during that cleanup.
Do you have an idea what kind of cost that's
I
gonna be?
don't, that's the
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
He's really good for us, he always has been, as far as cost. Having to come in to transfer that data onto the front computer.
Mhm.
burn the hard drive,
Okay.
Okay.
He deals with their computer,
Okay. I have a motion to, have him come, maybe give us an estimate on what the whole thing would look like for him to transfer that stuff. I think we need to know those figures before we make a decision. Somebody make a motion? Have a second?
Just a little bit about the purchase of this.
Is that independent? Will he do that as well, or just the tower is ours to do?
That's not a big deal. It's
Okay.
just moving the data from one computer, I don't know.
Okay, okay,
Do that, so,
Need a motion to
purchase.
okay. Do you want 2 separate motions or one?
Yeah, we might, yeah,
Those 2. All right, let's vote on the first one first. Have John come in and, or at least give us an estimate of what he thinks it would cost to transfer and shred. Did I have the first and second?
yeah, that's just motion and second.